To Iraq, where the U.S. has sent 120 more military advisors to assess the humanitarian crisis that amounts to a modern-day exodus. Thousands of civilians, religious minorities fleeing an onslaught of violence by these ISIS militants.
In just one day, tens of thousands of Christians fled villages like Karakush and Bartilla, just about 25 miles away. Most have come here to Erbil with nothing more than the clothes on their back.
They have crossed a mountain on foot in the desert heat, forced to flee their homes, driven by their fear of ISIS. This woman says militants beheaded several men in her village and mounted their heads on the hoods of cars. ISIS is well armed, but sheer terror may be their most powerful weapon. Crucifixions, men tied together and marched to their deaths, shot in the head, others buried alive, according to one Iraqi minister. Atrocities documented by the militants themselves and shared with the world on social media, sending a chilling message. We take no prisoners.
They take everything from the house, from the store, everything. And they take like machine, everything, because they are Christian. Just the name Christian. They hate Christian especially. We don't know why.
It was leave or die.
They say if anyone don't become like Muslim, we're gonna kill it. Kill it. Each one, from baby and woman, one, old man.
We don't have anything here. They bombed the churches and already took our houses. We have nothing here. No money, no ID, no travel documents.
These desperate civilians came racing towards the helicopter, throwing their children on board the aircraft. The crew was just trying to pull up as many people as possible. A little baby, a red-headed baby, that ended up in my hands. It was chaotic. It was crazy, but we were able to then lift off with about 20 civilians.
What's happening now to the Christians, to the Yazidis, to the minorities, and like in the last couple of days, mostly to the Christians, is a genocide. What's happening is what happened 200 years ago with the Jews.
We brought nothing, not even clothes, just horrors, this man says as he drives off.
Genocide is defined as the deliberate killing of a particular ethnic group or nation. Words that are used interchangeably with genocide are mass murder, massacre, and mass homicide.
In 1944, a Polish Jewish lawyer named Raphael Lemkin sought to describe Nazi policies of systematic murder, including the destruction of the European Jews. He formed the word genocide by combining gena from the Greek word for race or tribe with side, derived from the Latin word for killing. In proposing this new term, Lemkin had in mind a coordinated plan of different actions aiming at the destruction of essential foundations of the life of national groups, with the aim of annihilating the groups themselves. The next year, the International Military Tribunal held at Nuremberg, Germany, charged top Nazis with crimes against humanity. The word genocide was included in the indictment, but is a descriptive, not legal term. So the question...
In Iraq, Islamic radicalists known as ISIS want to enact Sharia law and build the new caliphate. These Islamic radicalists, they changed their name from the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria to just the Islamic State because they no longer recognize the sovereignty of Iraq and Syria. ISIS is using their jihadist army to target, persecute, and murder Christians. The jihadist army is burning churches, slaughtering Christian men, raping Christian women, and sometimes going as far as beheading Christian children. The purpose of the ISIS attack on Christians is to create an all-Islamic state. According to NewsRepublic.com, if the caliph is a rightful caliph, he can demand allegiance to all Muslims. The members and leaders of ISIS took the teachings that they learned from being part of Al-Qaeda to start their own organization, and they used a lot of the same methods, such as torturing and killing people who got in the way of their mission. In Article 6 of the Rome Statute, genocide is defined as acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group, according to legalun.org. The actions taken by ISIS can definitely be described as genocide with the Rome Statute because they've taken every opportunity to destroy all Christians if they do not convert to Islam.
The international legal definition of the crime of genocide is found in Articles 2 and 3 of the 1948 Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of Genocide. Article 2 describes two elements of the crime of genocide, one being the mental element, meaning the intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such, and two, as the physical element, which includes 5 acts described in sections A, B, C, D, and E. A crime must include both elements to be called genocide. Article 3 describes 5 punishable forms of the crime of genocide: conspiracy, incitement, attempt, complicity, and genocide. Article 2 in the present convention, genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent or to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such. A. Killing members of the group. B. Causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. C. Deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. And D. Imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. In 1933, the Jewish population of Europe stood at over 9 million. Most European Jews lived in countries that Nazi Germany would occupy or influence during World War II. By 1945, the Germans and their collaborators killed nearly 2 out of every 3 European Jews as part of the final solution, the Nazi policy to murder the Jews of Europe. Although Jews, whom the Nazis deemed a priority danger to Germany, were the primary victims of Nazi racism, other victims included some 200,000 gypsies. At least 200,000 mentally or physically disabled patients, mainly Germans, living in institutional settings, were also murdered. In 1948, the United Nations General Assembly voted unanimously to create the UN Convention of the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, recognizing that at all periods of history, genocide has inflicted great losses on humanity, including the Holocaust.